Response video to SkidRowRadio, sort of, kind of, mostly. But it's more about the underlying argument and this whole conflict with anti-bullshit man and the thing that it reveals. I mean, the whole reason why I went from anti-natalist to ethicist in a way is that there's this understanding of the mechanics of existence. And it's not just about human beings failing. It's about the whole mechanism of existence failing. That there isn't anything in the universe to do, to accomplish, to improve. The whole concept of improving nothing, and that's what the universe is impossible. To improve, you have to have something that needs improvement. You know, it's like even relationships and love and all. You have to have a dependency. You have to have needs for there to be something to hold people together. And for there to be any equitable exchange or any kind of growing together and becoming stronger and all this kind of bullshit. For that to happen, there has to be need. There has to be the hole dug first. And it's the nature of existence that there's a problem with. And I think when you do this net math equation thing, when you understand it's the game board, the checkers, and the fact that there's no players, there's just checkers being disposed of, being manipulated and moved by forces. And we see what happens. And we can use the word disposed of to be a metaphor, dying to be a metaphor for being harmed, by being destroyed, by being annihilated as a thing, as a substance, as a being. You do this work to create something, a piece of art, like the David. And the earthquake comes and it cracks it into a million pieces and it's gone. That kind of thing. This is what life does. This is what the mechanics of the universe does. And it's intrinsically tragic. It's fundamentally tragic in that sense that whatever it does generate that might have some kind of value, it will ultimately destroy. Value will be destroyed. Value will be reduced, annihilated. And the real mechanism is this whole idea that the only real value is to prevent the annihilation, prevent the creation of something value so it doesn't get destroyed, prevent the building so there's no falling kind of idea. And that is the only game to be played here. And I think it's critical to my understanding of why there's any necessity here to act, why this is so freaking important. It's not important to me without that understanding, that this is the mechanics. The understanding that, again, it's not about human beings, it's about life on Earth. It's about sentient life on Earth. And we get so distracted and caught up because we understand that it's all about what you think is critical to the gun's function. Is it the barrel? Is it the bullet? Is it the trigger? You know, and we can argue about that, but what is obvious to me is all these components have to exist, and certainly the idea that you have to go through the human being to get to a solution here. There's no solution without the human being. We have to just wait for the comet then, or wait for the complete destruction through universal forces. We have to wait for the non-intelligence to randomly, so to speak, to just through the mechanics to take care of the problem, that as it inevitably will. And that waiting period just means that there's this long time frame that could exist where we just slowly die. We slowly wallow in this failure. And it's goddamn important. So anyway, so as context, I mean, SkidRowRadio has been a good little player. He plays along. He makes some good arguments. He fights with the individuals in the comments section. I appreciate all that stuff. I appreciate him as a person. I like him as a person. You know, we could you know, shag some flies or whatever the thing would be. You know, we could drink some beers and smoke some cigarettes and whatnot. I guess he doesn't smoke anymore, but you know, same difference. We get along as people, I think. but I'm not here to be a people. I'm not peopling when I'm doing this video shit, okay? I'm not being a people. I'm being something else, and I have an agenda. And if you're in the way of my agenda, if you're fucking with my agenda, then yeah, you're fucking with why I'm here. So it means something to me. And I'm going to complain. And I'm going to say, well, fuck you, get out of my way. I'm busy. That's all I'm going to say. I'm working. I'm working here. You're fucking with me. And so, fuck you. You're going to get out of my way. And I find this nitpicky little naysay bullshit getting in my way. I don't need you to tell me the shit you think you need to tell me. It's nonsense. It's bullshit. I gave you a clear, unambiguous thought experiment to prove a point. I was demonstrating how we know value exists. And we know it exists at the extremes. I said this explicitly in the video. At the extremes is where we can prove its existence. We know that if you have a choice of 50 versus 50 million, it's obvious. There's no doubt about this idea that it doesn't matter anymore about these individuals and their autonomy and all this bullshit. The value is clear. The savings is obnoxiously huge. And you're nitpicking about some other principle. And I'm saying, well, there you go. There's the evidence that you just don't get it. Okay? That it's not about what these stupid asshole humans and their stupid asshole ambition and their stupid asshole privacy and their stupid asshole bullshit. This bullshit doesn't mean crap compared to this huge, giant, big picture, which is, you know, every decision we make, every commitment to the future people have made. It's not about having their kid and playing ball with their kid. The implications of their action is that this game continues. It's the Adam and Eve scenario. The first Adam and Eve are just saying, well, I'm just having 2 kids. I'm just playing with my kids. I'm just blah, 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 blah. No, you're sentencing human beings to a huge spreading across the earth, millions and billions of worms squirming through the humus. The whole game is on now. There's implications here that go far beyond this superficial, I have my right to do this thing. No, this thing has an implication. Anyway, or whatever. It was a simple thought experiment demonstrating a simple point. The correct answer was, oh yeah, that is quite obvious. The correct answer wasn't, well, what about Nagasaki and Hiroshima? What about the time when Obama lied? What about the time? No, that's not the subject, shithead. You're completely off the subject. You're way out of bounds. I mean, way the fuck out of bounds. I mean, you're playing cricket in a soccer match. It's just idiotic. And you've done it before, and that's why I threw the flags, and I just said, fuck this guy. He's sitting on the bench for a while, because he's not really a productive player, because he's in the wrong fucking goddamn game. And when you're making comments on anti-bullshit man supporting his nonsense, his absolutely imbecilic nonsense that somehow some sort of personal autonomy is more important than squandering suffering, well, yeah, I'm going to throw a flag. I'm going to say bullshit. Again, even a man on an island, if you take it to an extreme, the fact is the oxygen he's breathing was created by organisms that lived and died, okay, and some had to suffer to do it. And so right there, this whole man is an island thing, like that. Well, again, I'm not even getting back to that stupid, idiotic thought experiment. Like I said, I give you a clear examples of how, in reality, the only thing that really matters is the end game. How much suffering has been on there, how much blood is in the bucket. And that's all that's going to matter. And you can pretend something else matters, but I'm telling you, the only thing that matters is how much blood is in the fucking bucket. The rest of it is all bullshit. Anyway, play some of this shit.
The whole comment made it clear that I was saying that those, when powers be have used that kind of excuse for, you know, for sacrificing a few to save many, it's been bullshit.
Right, so how's that have anything to do with me? The fact that other people are bullshit has something to do with me, and has something to do with the thought experiment? The thought experiment didn't have liars in it. The thought experiment didn't have any of that shit. It had a simple, reasonable, Mr. Spockian type argument. Mr. Spock doesn't lie. There's no manipulation, no other agenda. Just a simple equation, simple math. And you've decided, I'm going to negate simple math because Stalin was a bad guy. Well, fuck you.
So I'm sure you must know, you must guess that with my politics, I'm not going to believe America's reasoning for dropping the nuclear bombs, okay? So why you give me some kind of history lesson as to why that didn't actually save lives? I don't know why you thought you had to tell me that.
Well, why did you think you had to tell me that it was wrong to do? Why do you think you had to use it to me to an example, like I didn't understand, or I didn't know Nagasaki was horrible, or Hiroshima was horrible? Why did you use it to me as an example of somehow how it has anything relevant to say on the subject of, well, if I can save 1 million people from having their skin burned off by having my skin burned off, that it's perfectly rational for me to volunteer for that task. If that's the only thing on the table, 1 million people with their skin burned off or one person with their skin burned off, duh. And if you can't say duh to that simple math, I say fuck you, okay? You've got a shit agenda. You got some kind of fucked up nuthead shit fucking bullshit going on in your goddamn brain if you can't figure out that simple goddamn math. I mean, it was a simple equation. No liars, no bullshit, no political agenda, no cheaper oil, no capitalists getting richer. None of that shit was anywhere near this equation. It was a simple equation put on the fucking table. Here's the equation. Here's the math. Okay, you jump in the pot of boiling oil, and 1 million people don't have to go in the oil. And you're giving me some kind of argument. You got some right to say no? I'm saying you got no fucking right to say no. If you don't say fucking yes, I'm pushing you into the fucking oil, you fucking retard. And if you can't understand that, then I say you're too fucking stupid. You're caught up in some kind of other bullshit's going on in your goddamn brain. If you can't say, goddamn, that's fucking obvious, and you apparently can't, then all I can say is, fuck you, you crazy fucktard. If you can't fucking get enough goddamn courage to say, yeah, I'll do the right thing, that seems like a goddamn fantastic deal, Gary, I would buy it right away. If you can't say that, then fuck you. Fuck.
You know, you must know my positions on stuff by now, and that comment made it clear that I was talking about the fact that those arguments have been made fallaciously.
Well, who the fuck cares? Again, you won't call me a fallacious argument maker? I was the one who spelled out the thought experiment. What's my agenda? I had a secret plan behind the thought experiment that I'm actually trying to get cheaper oil? Huh? I'm trying to make a connection so I can get like some kind of loosey-goosey job where I don't have to do any real work and I get $50K a year? What the fuck was my angle? I give you a fucking simple goddamn equation to demonstrate the fact that we know that value really does exist, because we can goddamn for sure know that there's things worth buying in this world, and there's no doubt about it, they're worth the fucking goddamn money, and the money's the capital of our own welfare, and we goddamn know that has value. So let's not pretend these other things don't have value. Let's not pretend we don't know we're all goddamn checkers in the end.
Okay. So I don't see any use in the hypothetical, and I think it's stupid to fall out with people because they won't agree with you on this hypothetical, which is...
Well, I'm sorry. It's not... I can't even... It's not... It's so simple, a hypothetical. It's so crystal clear, a simple piece of math, a logical piece of math. Simply just saying, is your personal attachment to your own ego, your own sense of self-worth, worth more than 1 million people having their skin burned off? No, it's not.
A badly formed question, and useless when applied to reality.
Well, I'm sorry. This is nothing useless. It was dirt simple, crystal goddamn clear, sparkling clean. There wasn't even a microbe on it. Not a goddamn thing to complain about, and you just evaded it for no goddamn good reason, but because you have the agenda. Because you find something intrinsically obnoxious with this idea that, guess what, it doesn't matter. It does not goddamn matter who has the broken legs. It doesn't matter who's suffering. It doesn't matter. It's just the suffering. It's the only enemy. There is no other enemy. And you just don't like that idea because you apparently think you're super cool special.
You know, you use this huge number, 50 versus 50 million, to try and make it obvious, but it only works if you keep it completely simplistic with no other factors involved.
Well, I don't know where, like I said again, I don't know what to say to you, okay? I mean, if you don't know what the purpose of a thought experiment is, then maybe you're not up to having these philosophical conversations. But the whole point of a thought experiment is to narrow it to make it as simple as possible to take all the other factors out and try to focus on one element of a truth and to establish the existence of it through this focus. That's the whole fucking point of the damn things, is to isolate one piece of reality and say, what is this piece of reality? Is it real, or is it inevitably and intrinsically tied to all these other strings in some impossible way? And what I'm saying is no, you can't isolate it. I did isolate it. I made it crystal clear, and you couldn't come up with the right answer.
Right, with no questioning of the motives of the person deciding, with no analysis of the situation in general. If you're getting...
What was the analysis? The goddamn thing was goddamn simple. What's your obligation in this circumstance? Is the obligation unavoidable? Is the obligation beyond any reasonable contrivance of any way of evading? There's no reasonable evasion of this simple scenario.
Angry with people because you're basically saying, I can't believe I have to explain that 50 million is a higher number than 50. Right? That's why you're getting annoyed with people, is you think it's so crazy that you have to explain that 50 million is a higher number than 50. But that's not what people are disagreeing with you on. They're disagreeing with the usefulness of the hypothetical.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. There's no disagreeing with the useful for its purpose, okay? And its purpose is, like, again, I'm in an argument defending the reality of any economics regarding suffering. And what I'm saying to prove my point that there is an economics is I'm just making it clear that here's the store, here's the price list, you explain to me how this is in the reality, that this is what you use to pay for that, that these things have intrinsic fundamental value and they are exchangeable. You exchange your welfare for 50 million people. That's right. One person exchanges his welfare for the benefit of a million. That's quite obvious. Now, when we get to 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 or 1 to 7, well, maybe these numbers get a little bit trickier. I again would argue that even if we do the thought experiment on those narrow subjects, well, then we're going to get into a subject about ego, all right? And we're going to get into a subject about what we want to hear and what we like to hear and what makes us feel better. But we're still not going to. The subject is going to be the same, and the rational choice is always going to be the Spockian logical choice. There is nothing else but reason here. There's only rationality, there's only logic, the rest of it is bullshit. Emotional bullshit.
And with, the fact that you can't apply it to reality. So that's why I tried to bring up Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And, right, so I'm not going to go through everything that you've said, but, let's just go through a little bit of it.
Yeah, well, that's just so ludicrous, right? I mean, you bring up Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which could be an endless philosophical discussion about trying to figure out exactly what the end consequence was, whether it was good or bad. I mean, it gets preposterously complex in terms of its end result. You want to talk about motives? Yeah, I'll concede the motives, and I've argued the motives. I say our government's motives were shit. Obviously, we had devalued the life and welfare of Japanese citizens. Okay, we weren't fighting a war with Japanese soldiers anymore. We were fighting a war with the Japanese people, and that was grotesque.
Like I said, Gary, I'm not someone who's trying to cause trouble for you. You read the comment out in a snarky voice, but, I wasn't trying to be snarky. I was just disagreeing with you on...
Well, I'm not going to argue with you about this crap, okay? You post comments on videos that were obnoxiously, aggressively, okay, insulting to me and the integrity of my philosophy. If you're going to post comments on videos like that, well, you better be goddamn careful what you're saying. And if what you're saying is at all supporting that motherfucker, then guess what? You're going to be in my shithouse. Newsflash. I'm not going to say thank you, buddy.
And the usefulness of this hypothetical, right? So, what have we got here? So I said that, there's very few situations where you're going to see this self-sacrifice thing presented.
Well, whatever, I'm not going to argue. You didn't say any of that shit anyway, but I don't care, okay? I mean, like I said, my thought experiment was well thought out, well spoken, well clear. Didn't need any of this crap you piled on top of it. You don't understand the concept of thought experiments, fine. You don't understand, get up to speed or get out of the conversation, because it's going to be part of the conversation. Metaphors and analogies is all we have, because guess what? Suffering is intangible. except in a personal way, a subjective way. And clearly I have this obligation to demonstrate how it has objective reality, so that's what I'm working on. That's my agenda. You have some other agenda? Fine. You do your agenda, I'll do my agenda, and that's fine. But I'm not going to take your gratuitous insults as part of the deal. Fuck that shit.
Obligation. You're talking about imposition. So if you're going to say you're going to push 50 people through the door to save 50 million, again, in your fantasy land, in your fantasy simplistic land, where there's no other factors involved, and where you have perfect knowledge of the future.
Well, that was the condition of the thought experiment, that it's true, that it's just, this is the end result. I was talking about end game economics. The whole video, the whole reason why Anti-Bullshit Man made his videos, he finds this objection, he has objection to the word net economics. Okay, he's claiming that there is no net economics. It has something to do with intent or motives or some other kind of bullshit. And I'm saying, well, sorry, failure is failure. It doesn't matter what you intended. It's just a fact. You either failed or you didn't fail. You either run the person over and they die or they don't die. I mean, these are the facts of the circumstance. It doesn't matter what your fucking intentions are. Intentions don't buy people out of the fucking hospital. They don't buy people out of the fucking graveyard. And so the fact of the matter is there's a net fucking equation. And my video had that written all over it, and Anti-Bullshit's video has the opposite written all over it. The whole fucking thing is about this word net economics, okay, and they don't find that appealing. Well, maybe you don't find that appealing, and I'm saying that's a rock-solid certainty in my book of reality. Rock-solid certainty, and it's the whole reason why I think any of this matters is because I believe that so strongly. And so you want to take cheap shots at it, fine. But that's all you did, because I made a rock-solid, simple, fucking value equation, and you want to sit there and complicate it by saying somehow I'm lying about the 1 million people that are going to be saved if you go into the fucking oil. Well, there's no possibility of a lie there. There's no possibility of a deception. You can't rationally justify contriving that. That's a catch to the thought experiment. There was no fucking catch. It was just, here's one world where 1 million people are in the fucking hot oil. Here's another world where one person's in the hot oil. What button do you press? Well, god damn it. Really complex question, right? No, it's fucking dirt simple question. Fuck you. This is all a bunch of fucking rationalization and bullshit.
You have to basically have kind of godlike knowledge of the future. To be...
Well, anyway, I'm not, again, that's the premise of the fucking thought experiment, you shithead, is that you have godlike certain knowledge of the fucking outcome. There's no doubt about it. You have no question about it. All right? The issue wasn't that you were uncertain, that, well, I don't know if it's really going to happen. I don't know. It's just on paper. It's signed by Barack Obama, the contract, so yeah, maybe it's a piece of shit. No, none of that crap was in there. The fucking thought experiment made it clear. You know 1 million people don't go in the oil. If you go in the oil, you know you're stuck with this, oh, shit, damn it, I have to be a hero. And that's just the way it is. You know it. You're fucked. All right? There's no way out. There's no way to weasel out. You know the truth, and you're either going to do the right thing or, in my opinion, you should be forced to do the right thing. Period. No, there's no conversation about this. It's just too fucking simple.
Able to even entertain that question. Again, before you've even added any of the...
jump ahead here.
A self-realization of that you have responsibility there. Okay, this is not obligation. When you push someone through the door on your say-so, on your logic, on your decision, that's not an obligation that they're part of there. That's an imposition, right?
I've made the video about this, okay? Imposition only works as an argument when you're imposing irrationality. When you're potentially wrong, then it's an imposition. When you impose a wrong decision on somebody, an irrational thing on somebody, a bad thing on somebody, okay, that's an imposition. When it's unreasonable risk, that's an imposition. When it's reasonable, when it's rationally defensible, when every fact points to doing it, as in the thought experiment, every single fact points to doing it, yeah, then it's not an imposition. Then it's an obligation to impose. Then it's like preventing the rape. You have no rational reason to think that the screaming woman being raped in the alley, There's no circumstantial fact that lets you think, oh, this is consensual behavior. So you know the difference, and you know the obligation. So it's not that complicated. We sometimes know these things beyond reasonable doubt, and that's all I'm asking for my definition, is beyond reasonable doubt. And there was nothing in my hypothetical to give anyone cause for any reasonable doubt about what the outcome was, because I made it explicit. So fuck you and this bullshit. Once again, you can't impose good intentions and good reasoning on somebody. It's impossible for that to be an imposition. It's just impossible.
Right? It just means they don't like this question. It's not useful. And if you apply the general theme of this discussion, which is about obligationism, right, and sacrificing the few for the many, this, whatever, the wider point of this discussion is obligationism, okay? And this kind of mathematics of suffering, whatever, you apply it to the real world and you see how it's been abused.
I'm not going to argue with you about it being abused, because it's never been abused. These people have bad intentions going in, and their bad intentions are quite obvious, okay? These aren't fucking stellar individuals, okay? That these leaders, we all know they're lying scum. They demonstrate their lying scummery all over the fucking place. So there's no doubt about the fact that there's a hidden agenda or an unspoken agenda, that it's all a fucking phony fake lie. Okay, Obama and his fake cigarettes. You know, I'm anti-cigarettes except I smoke. You know, I'm peace. I'm the president of peace. Except I kill people. I'm change, except I don't change anything and leave a bunch of fucking Bush appointees in control. That's the change I give you. Is I leave everything exactly the same. Let's not play the game. We all know they're lying scum. All right. So you want to call me a lying scumbag? Well, fuck you. That's all I got to say to you. Okay, I'm not a lying scumbag. I know a fair deal. I know how to speak a fair deal. And people who can speak a fair deal can say this is what the deal is. Okay? I have a right to impose on you if you're fucking goddamn. The reason and the logic adds up and says that's what you do. You want to talk to me about government and who should have the power and all this other crap? Well, that's a political discussion. You already know my politics. All right? And again, I'm just going to argue that all I'm saying you can guarantee at all here is a fair fight. And I'm saying let's have the fair fight. Let's let the logic win its day. Let's let logic have its fair fight, its fair punches, okay? And it'll either win or lose, okay? But I'm sick of this fucking compromise with crap and assholery and nothing and frozenness. And all you people are doing is naysaying and nitpicking and freezing. You're just saying, no, we can't have the fight. We can't decide it one way or the other. So instead, we'll just let something like strawberries decide our fate. The strawberries will make the choice. Well, the strawberries are even dumber than me or you. I'd rather Darth Vader be in charge than a goddamn strawberry. So fuck you. That's my agenda. That's what I believe in. I'm going to fight for that, and I don't have to compromise with this wishy-washy bullshit that we can't do anything because there's bad people playing the game. Well, fuck that. I know who the bad people are. I can identify the bad people, and I think we can have a game without the bad people as long as we have umpires with some kind of integrity. And I think we can have umpires with integrity if we tie a big, tight string around their nuts. Okay? That can be pulled by everybody. Anyway, fuck you. Let's see how he ends this shit.
That's not really how we've seen war go. I'm getting slightly off topic.
Yeah, well, you're all the way.
I'm not trying to cause trouble for you. You know, I'm not trying to be a dick, whatever. I just don't think that question is useful. And that's it, I guess. Right.
Yeah, fine. You didn't communicate that to me.
Gary, so I'm making
you
this video
communicated it on a public video in the comments section. So a video ragging on me, insulting me, impugning me, doing all kinds of nasty shit, you put some kind of snark-ass, fuckwit, dumb fuck comment endorsing this idea that somehow net economics is a crazy and wacky idea. Well, I'm telling you, I can defend it. I can beat the shit out of you with it, and there's no fucking counter-argument reason reasonable one that you're going to have for it, okay? So we have the fight over this neck economic shit. You're going to lose because all you got is sometimes people lie. Well, that doesn't have any goddamn thing to do with what's right and wrong, you fuckhead. Okay, the fact that some people suck doesn't mean that good people should be frozen and paralyzed. So fuck you on that idiotic logic right there. I'm going to fight for something better than just sitting around waiting for strawberries to give us fairness. Because strawberries aren't going to goddamn get it done. Yeah, that's enough. And such.